Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with hosts Amy Babinchek, James Kernan, and Carl Polachek. Produced by Kernan Consulting and for the international MSP community. We are dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional. Hey everybody, welcome back to the SMB Community Podcast. It's James Kernan with Kernan Consulting, and I am here with my good friend Charlene Ignacio, CEO and founder of Fornix Marketing. Hey Charlene.
Thank you so much, James, for having me. This is not only a busy Monday for you and I, but what a weekend it's been.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And obviously we want to talk about Crowdstrike and how this outage is affecting you, our listeners. This podcast goes out internationally, and Crowdstrike is probably the number one brand cybersecurity tool internationally. And just big picture, I kind of wanted to just tee this up before I start quizzing Charlene on what her and her firm are doing and get her opinion on this. But obviously there was a rollout, a patch that Crowdstrike had early Friday morning on that Falcon product line. And it's only affecting Windows-based PCs, but everybody came back Friday morning to the blue screen of death. And what's interesting, I didn't realize how huge Crowdstrike was, but almost 300 of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States use Crowdstrike. Airlines, banks, food companies, healthcare companies, and I even looked up the U.S. government had over 55 million in just last year unclassified purchases, and they won't disclose the classified purchases. So it seems like everybody's using it. So talk about a single point of failure, right? If everybody's using the same tool, oops, we just told the bad guys what they could do next. But it wasn't the bad guys this time. It was them just rolling out a patch that wasn't tested properly and it went sideways. So I guess back to the question, that's what happened. So it's been a busy, crazy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. As of this morning, all sorts of airlines are still canceling flights. Lots of people are affected. What are you seeing on your side, Charlene, from a marketing standpoint inside your customer base?
So, what's really funny is CrowdStrike, it was an engineering decision that caused this next process to fail again. And it failed again so big that on one of the graphics I saw, it looked like chicken pox. And literally Friday morning, it looked like a blackout. All of the impacted businesses, companies, individuals. And so you can see I'm wearing my glasses today because it's so, my eyes hurt all weekend long.
From working all weekend
Because, James, one of your questions is how did your customer base get impacted? Some of our MSPs who verbalize their partnerships had to take some of those posts down because some of their clients who, said, you were with CrowdStrike, or hey, potential clients are like, we don't want to have anything to do with it. Not because they don't know what to do, guys. I think, James, it was more the fear that my business cannot fail and become, non-functioning literally within just one patch like that. I mean, instantly, Delta Airlines was canceling flights. I was supposed to be on a flight today. They said, hey, will you kind of not take your flight today because we've had so many cancellations. I have some people who are stuck in third world countries who can't get back because the airlines are not, doing some of the legs of their connections. I mean, it's not just a technology failure. It's I have a life failure when this happened. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you're busy protecting your company or your customers from being associated with a bad name out there. CrowdStrike sounds like it's a 4-letter word right now.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is I write motivational quotes every day, and then I put a paragraph or two out there inside of a large subscription list about how you could apply that motivational quote or that business tip in your business. And I was looking up quotes around failure, and there's all sorts of great quotes. And there was a funny one from Thomas Edison, and it said, it took me 10,000 times. I didn't fail, It just took me 10,000 times to figure out how to do it right. And that was the old days, but then the quote continued, and obviously it was a joke, but the quote said, unless it's a cybersecurity incident, then it's one and done, right? And the world today in technology is so unforgiving. There's a lot of companies, they had one big incident, and, I just looked at the stock price this morning, and just one business day after this happened, their stock prices dropped over 30%.
Totally.
I guess going to continue to tank. So,
well, and I think that's the funny part, though. It's because people look at this single point of failure, and just like my chickenpox graphic, you know what? It was like, wow, there was a blackout. Like everyone was impacted. And of course, it's kind of funny because a lot of people think, my business is never going to be that business. And I'm thinking, why not? If you're using technology today, if you're dependent on apps, if you're dependent on the cloud, if you're dependent on anything for your compliance, you have a 99.9% chance it will be you.
Yeah, it's sad to see how these Fortune 500 companies are so reliant on technology, but yet, that single point of failure just brought everybody to their knees, and they couldn't do business. They couldn't boot. So, it also goes back to what happened to best practices of rollouts. Who's responsible to test these? Don't they play with it in a sandbox first, or do like regional updates where they bring it into different customer segments over a period of time? Why did they have to push it globally? Again, that just kind of pointing out to all the bad guys, because immediately, my first thought was, oh, they got hacked. Something bad. And then
it could be happening right now, though, James. Like you could literally take the banks. Let's just use the banks, right? They're under FTC ruling. They've got all the regulators on their back. Like they have all these things to follow. And then something like this happens, and it gives that little window of time for the hacker to walk in and go, great, now I can sit here because they're not looking for me. They're looking for a technology flaw in the update versus a hacker coming in and leaving Easter eggs all around.
And it is a funny coincidence. So, maybe bad guys were involved, because you just think of how catastrophic and wide scale this is. It's just hard to imagine how something like this could happen with just a simple patch.
Right.
Anyway.
And I thought, what was funny was that there was no notification. So there wasn't a backup, right? Everybody always says, well, what's the backup to the backup? And yet that wasn't done. And the second part that I saw, a lot of our MSPs, they were 72 hours still working. How many wives have said, please forgive, the fact that this is a family that hasn't seen, their dad because they've been working on this, for their clients. And I see the entire impact, right? But again, I go back to this one thing that I always tell everyone, what is your plan if and when this happens? Does it have to be a hack? Doesn't have to be just a failure. It could be anything that has an impact on your customers, on your livelihood. And people are like, we didn't think about that. And I'm like, you have to. You got to think about something.
Yeah. Like you said, you've got to have a backup plan. And it's not, if it will happen, it's when it will happen. And regardless if you're a Fortune 500 company or you're a little company, we just talked about this, Charlene, at the last Mastermind event in Tampa.
Right.
Cybersecurity experts there, and they were sharing. And one thing they kept talking about is many MSPs have small customers that say, you guys, I'm too small. I don't need all this cybersecurity stuff. I'm not a target. Right. And they're exactly wrong, right? Because I remember the statistic, they said most of these hacks or ransomware attacks are coming from these third world countries or, someone in Russia, for example. And
right.
In the average income there is maybe $10,000. The average ransomware payouts over $50,000. That's a game changer. If you can get one incident, one thing, and all of a sudden you get a payout that's 5 times your annual salary. That's a big deal to people. So small business breaches, you are a target. And we need to educate our customers with that kind of information, really to protect them, so they're not ignorant, because everybody's a target impacting, right?
This is a great marketing, guys. Like right now, this is the best time for you to go after every single customer or every single prospect who said no and say, well, here's a reality of what just happened. Could this be you? Yes. This is a great sales time for you to be taking advantage of the marketing you're getting from this free event of no dollars on your back. It's going to be on theirs.
Yeah, that's a good point. And back to the, marketing, there's good and bad things that happen, but obviously Crowdstrike competitors are all over this. I was doing some research early this morning, Charlene, you'll laugh. I saw a sponsored ad by Sentinel-1, and it was titled, Crowdstrike Alternatives, Sentinel-1, don't let this happen to you. And boy, they were pouncing all over it, getting all sorts of hits and action on it. But
why not, right? I mean, if you're going to use this, it's free marketing. Everyone's Googling Crowdstrike right now. I mean, it's free SEO, guys. You don't even have to do an ad. This thing just comes to you if you're ready to take that conversation with clients who you've been trying to convince on, having a backup, having some sort of strategy for, maybe your security plan. Like everyone can use it. But James, here's something else that I saw today, this morning, as I was trying to get in, and go, all right, what kind of day it's going to be? A lot of people who were not familiar of how it impacted, I think, when they were at the airport for, 48 hours stuck there, couldn't go anywhere, no hotels. Expedia said, hey guys, please don't try to call us. We're so overwhelmed because of the outage. We have too many people asking us about their flights, their hotels, and their cars. And I'm thinking, this is the end user who finally sees the impact of how technology will hurt us when there is a big outage like this.
Yeah. And it's, it is interesting. It felt like most of the world just kind of went into the weekend after Friday, go into the weekend, you go on your merry way, and then come back to work on Monday. And it's just as bad as it was on Friday, and that's still puzzling to me that there's so many outages that are still out there. But, it is what it is. And all too well, because you'd been working all weekend long on damage control for your work. But yeah, and it's interesting. What's your thought? Historically, I've always been a big fan of marketing your strategic partners like a Cisco, an IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Dell, Microsoft, VMware. But then there's so many of these incidents that all of a sudden now it's a 4-letter word, and I don't want to be associated with that partner. And I'm seeing more and more MSPs get smart with their marketing, and they're marketing their services, saying that they're using the world's leading tools, but they don't tell them what tools they're using. What is your thought on that?
So that's exactly what we tell all of our clients and our partners, to not use the vendor's name, because you cannot control what happens in their marketing or in their efforts. So what you can control is that we want them to trust you as a trusted advisor, right? We want our MSPs to be the trusted advisor who's going to know the best interest of what should be used and not used for their clients. And then, of course, third, and James, this is where a lot of that time has been spent over the weekend, is constantly being ahead of it. Consistent education, saying it 15 times, sending that same content about email, another 30 times, because your customer doesn't know what their problem is. And so one of our clients, for example, had all these logos on their website, literally like plastered. And I said, you're taking that down. And they were like, no. I'm like, those people don't even know those names. Your customer doesn't know these names because they don't deal with them. You need to be the provider that is accredited, that knows everything that you're advising. And so our clients have literally taken logos down from their websites, because I said, stop marketing them when you need to be marketing you as the advisor.
Yeah. Have you seen anything negative out there about Microsoft? Because at first it looked like this was a Microsoft issue, but then very quickly it was apparent that it was a Crowdstrike.
Right. Yeah, totally. And a lot of businesses run on Microsoft, right? That blue screen, the reset. Some people didn't know they could reset, and so there's a lot of MSPs helping each other. They're really doing really good as a team. And I think that, James, being in the industry as long as you have, they're all about collaborating. They're all about helping each other, but some of these MSPs didn't know what to do. I mean, some of these really, really inexperienced MSPs didn't know how to solve the problem because of the blue screen.
Yeah, and you, Charlene, you bring up such a great point. I want to highlight this because it's exactly the reason why I formed the Mastermind peer groups, because I remember how lonely it was at the top. I was a single owner of a fast-growing tech company, and I knew the power of your partnerships and the power of community, but there was a lot of things in my business that I couldn't go back and talk to other people in my company about. I didn't have advisors I could work with. And then communities, and I'm not saying that the mastermind community is the one all be all. I'm just encouraging all of you. Charlene's point is stay connected.
Right.
I saw so many different communities like the mastermind community share information on Slack, share information on social media, share information via email, just internally about how to message, what to do, how to respond. And then many of the customers that are on my side, because I'm on their email threads, I saw several communications go out to their customers, like, hey, rest assured, we've got you covered. Don't worry about this. But if you do know someone affected, they could call our help desk. We're happy to help. It's a marketing opportunity.
It is.
So it's interesting. But again, it's the power of having the right information in the power of collaboration. So stay connected in these communities. Would love to do that. And like Crowdstrike, we'd love to hear from you. How are you affected? Message us. You could send me a message at james@kernanconsulting.com or go up to the SMBcommunitypodcast.com website and submit information there off our Contact Us page. We'd love to hear from you and continue to share with the audience, but help you, if you need anything out there. So Charlene, any other thoughts on this, the world's largest outage?
Well, James, I think we realize that the only way we're going to get through this is together, right? Crowdstrike's going to pick up the pieces, and they're going to be expected to do it better, right? Because all of us have a chance to be better. I think a lot of us as vendors and technology providers, we have to be better. And I think the goal of what we saw in this last 72 hours, literally, it has changed how we do business. There are going to be different things in place now. And so MSPs who are looking at their stack, are looking at their, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 guys, we have to get better as a provider ourselves because of the fact that the world is depending on us and trusting us to know what to do in these times because they don't know. So not only has James, touched on the peer group that he leads and many MSPs benefit from his wisdom, but more importantly, James looks at the whole business as a whole. He looks at what could you be doing better? How can you be improving your services? What can you be doing that? So if you guys are trying to dial that in and trying to get a real good understanding of what to do next, please reach out to James because he just gives and he overgives. But he does it because he wants us to be better. So James, I think that's where my heart and soul would be with everyone going through this right now. It's to just be better.
All right. That's it. I'm going to FedEx you $100 bill. Thank you.
That means I will pay for my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The last couple of days I've had to order in because, you can't find food anymore. You're so busy all night and all day. But no, James, I really feel that way, that we could be better. And being better is having good partners like you.
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for your kind words. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap. We just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about what's going on with Crowdstrike. If you do need anything, just reach out to us at the SMB Community Podcast or Kernan Consulting, and we're here to help. All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Take care, guys. Thank you.